Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are discussing a hypothetical and fictional scenario that has been circulating online, one that imagines the United States launching strikes on Venezuela and capturing President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. A story that is not real but is useful to analyze as a thought experiment to understand geopolitics, military power, international law, and global consequences. This video does not describe real events, but instead breaks down what such a scenario would mean if it were to exist in a fictional or speculative context, and why claims like these spread so quickly across social media. In this imagined situation, the narrative begins with reports of sudden U.S. military action against key Venezuelan targets, described as precision strikes aimed at command centers, air defenses, and military infrastructure, allegedly carried out to neutralize resistance before ground operations could begin. In a real-world context, an operation of this scale would require months or even years of preparation, including intelligence gathering, satellite surveillance, cyber operations, diplomatic signaling, and coordination with regional allies. The United States cannot simply bomb a sovereign nation and capture its leader without massive global consequences. So any fictional account must assume a dramatic breakdown of diplomacy and extreme escalation of tensions. In this scenario, the justification is often framed around restoring democracy, protecting regional stability, or responding to an alleged threat, themes that frequently appear in speculative geopolitical narratives. However, under international law, such an action would violate the United Nations Charter unless authorized by the UN Security Council or justified as self-defense, making global backlash almost inevitable. In this fictional storyline, Venezuelan air defenses are portrayed as being quickly overwhelmed by advanced U.S. aircraft, cruise missiles, and electronic warfare systems that disable radar and communications. In reality, while Venezuela's military is outmatched technologically, it still possesses air defense systems and ground forces that would make any invasion costly and dangerous. The imagined capture of President Maduro and his wife is often described as a swift special forces operation, involving elite units inserted into Caracas under heavy air cover. Such operations, even against weaker opponents, are among the most complex and risky missions any military can attempt, especially in dense urban environments. In this fictional version, the operation succeeds quickly, with Maduro taken into custody and removed from the country, symbolizing the collapse of the existing government. But in real geopolitical terms, removing a leader does not automatically stabilize a nation, and history shows that power vacuums often lead to chaos rather than peace. In this scenario, the immediate aftermath inside Venezuela is described as confusion, fear, and celebration in different segments of society, reflecting the country's deep political divisions. Supporters of the government would likely view the act as a foreign invasion, while opponents might see it as liberation, a split that could easily escalate into internal conflict. In this imagined context, Venezuelan institutions would struggle to function as ministries, courts, and security forces face uncertainty about leadership and legitimacy. The economy, already fragile in reality, would collapse further under the shock of military action, disrupted oil production, and financial isolation. International reactions in this fictional scenario would be swift and intense, with allies of Venezuela condemning the action and calling emergency meetings of global institutions. Countries such as Russia, China, and Iran would likely issue strong statements, viewing the event as a dangerous precedent for regime change by force. Even traditional U.S. allies in Europe and Latin America would